Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to some Wings of Liberty games because I have not cast any of these in what seems like an eternity. I have been very fortunate in having a steady stream of Heart of the Swarm, but I thought, you know what, I haven't cast this for a while. Wings of Liberty is still relevant, so let's just cast a couple of games. I've got two series from the Zotac Cup coming up, which I'm going to cast today, and I'll probably release back to back, so that is something for everyone to look forward to. It's also some best of threes, because let's face it, with Heart of the Swarm there hasn't been that many big tournaments or any online tournaments which usually give me a steady stream of those, so it makes a change from the best of ones we tend to see, and we can get to see some of the psychological aspects which go into series of games as opposed to just one-offs. So, let's start by introducing these two players. Up in the top right position, as the Red Terran, we do have for Team Empire, it is Happy. And his opponent, down in the lower left, is PsiOniC, who is the Teal Protoss. The map is going to be Cloud Kingdom, and in terms of openings, these two most likely to go for something relatively simple, probably a 1 Rax Command Center, either a 1-gate expand or something with a bit of early pressure, maybe a 1-gate Robo, or maybe even 3-gate pressure isn't unheard of, but generally speaking, these two will want to take their natural bases fairly quickly, just due to Cloud Kingdom being quite a large map, and the only thing they have to be slightly concerned about is what if there was some kind of cheesing coming, and usually that would be on the Terran side with a proxy 2 Rax, because it's on a 2-player map, it's very easy to do, and there's lots of places you can hide those 2 barracks on this map. Down here, for example, up here is another good place to put them, and as such it can be a little bit awkward, so that's why we're seeing quite an early scout coming down from this probe. It sees the SCV, and that should alleviate some of the concern unless it was going to be a double bunker. But what we see from Happy is actually we've got that second supply depot getting thrown down at a very early point to complete the wall off, which used to be very common if a Terran player was going to be taking a gas and going for some kind of hidden tech, whereas for some reason now it just seems to be that it's normally thrown down when you're going for a very early natural command center, so usually when you build it in your base. And why Terran players switched it up like that, I don't know. It's just one of those strange shifts in metagame which nobody really understands, but it does of course still leave the guess there, because while most Terrans get a command center when they've gone for the complete wall off early on, it's not guaranteed, and without that guarantee of what your opponent's doing, as a Protoss you do need to be just a little cautious, making sure that actually I am safe, my opponent isn't doing some kind of freaky tech play that I need to be worried about. But meanwhile PsiOniC, he's going to push back that SCV with the Zealot. He's happily mining away with a single gas geyser. No gas down yet for Happy, so very standard play out of both of them. Just a single gateway, single cyber core, and now the natural nexus is likely to go down as soon as we reach that 400 minerals. Ooh, but what's this? Maybe we're not going to see a natural nexus because a very early pylon is going to be placed down. There's a bunker on its way, but this is very exciting. The double barracks following up the command center, so one racks into a command center into 3 racks is very normal play. And of course the concern is going to be what's coming out, but it's going to be a robotics facility. It's a proxy robo. That means most likely we'll see a very early war prism for some drop play, and this is just oh so exciting if it doesn't get scouted in the breach cuff. But we do have this SCV. Is it going to come down? Is it going to come and see it? Well, it very well may, but going the wrong way unfortunately for the time being. Cannot see it, but now it's Macro rally to the right point and will spot it all coming down, and that is such a good scout for Happy right now. That couldn't have been any better. Straight away realizing what is coming, and therefore is going to be able to prepare for this quite appropriately. Getting a bunker up on the high ground as well. Just needs to make sure that his drop defense is absolutely ace, but a cancel is chucked down. Instead, a natural nexus on its way. And just playing some mind games, you can't really continue with that build and hope for it to be successful against a player like Happy if it has been scouted. You've got to get them by surprise, otherwise they will do everything they need to in order to make sure that they hold it off. So instead, a very greedy 3rd nexus as well. My goodness, this build is really shaking things up, and now we see the SCV just coming to see if it was cancelled. That was a good move, because if Happy hadn't seen that cancel, he wouldn't know that the push wasn't coming and may overcommit, but instead he could go for some really great counter aggression. He could try and do some damage. He could definitely punish this, because ultimately the only defense is going to be coming out of 1 gateway at the moment, soon to be 3 gates, and that simple fact means that actually Happy, if he doesn't take this out, which really would be an easy time for him, he is going to suffer with getting economically behind, but instead the factory coming down. We do have Stim getting research. We've got additional gateways getting added in here as well. That's going to take us up to 5 gates with 3 Nexus. The SCV has scouted out that the third base is on its way, and really the response to this, as Happy, is either he has to take his own third very soon, or he's got to come and try and apply some pressure and deny that base. With Stim, with the engineering bay coming out, it's possible he could go for some kind of Stim with +1 ground weapons timing, but missed the opportunity for those to sync up perfectly, so it's what he follows up with instead. He could get some medevacs down with the reactor, and with the starport now just starting, that seems very likely. But these two are now going to be going pace for pace. In terms of the worker count, ahead already for PsiOniC. He's very economically focused. He's going to get only further ahead now that he's got 3 Nexus to produce probes from. But Happy, he's got to be a little bit careful, because if he gets too far behind, economically, he will run into problems. 3 base Protoss players can do pretty much anything they want, and there's going to be this nice moment for Happy where he's going to be able to use Stim, Marine Marauder, and Medevac against essentially pure gateway forces. That's where his opportunity for a very early quick win will arise. But for PsiOniC, if he sticks on 3 bases and holds off the early aggression, he's going to be able to get up those High Templar, those Colossi very quickly, and have a very strong mid to late game army that Happy will have to deal with either with Vikings or Ghosts, or some combination of the two. And that's where things can start to get fairly difficult for a Terran player. But the sentries, they're pulling back, they're getting into a nice defensive position. We've got the 3rd, 4th gas coming down. No 5th or 6th gas yet for PsiOniC. He doesn't really have any tech to really be utilizing quite yet. Does have the Twilight Council down, but isn't researching any upgrades. And as I say that, he starts Blink. But look at this. This is a nice little push coming along. We've got Concussive Shells, Combat Shield, going to be finished up by the time it hits. The first 2 Medevacs also on their way over. +1 infantry weapons will not be complete though when this push hits, unless of course Happy delays it quite substantially. But he is taking his 3rd command center behind this, which is essential, because otherwise he would just get too far behind. But one probe gonna come up, gonna see that this force is coming across, and that means the sentry is gonna get pulled down towards the 3rd base. Some good force fields are gonna be absolutely essential for PsiOniC at the moment. But are they gonna go down in time? There they are, splitting that force in half. But unfortunately there was a small gap, and all of those Marines and Marauders are able to come up and in. Combat Shield and Concussive Shell are both finished, stimming very nicely. The Medevacs healing up a lot of this damage. The gateway unit's taking a lot of fire. Some good force fields are trying to stop this. Medevac gets taken out with both of those Marauders in there. PsiOniC holding very nicely indeed. Happy did not do enough damage there. He did 0 economic damage. This entire game he's only killed 2 probes, which were both scouting, and he is behind by what is 13 workers already, and mules won't even come back from that. So these Stalkers, they do not have Blink quite yet, but it will be done very shortly. A couple of Medevacs just sitting out on their lonesome, but with the units on the high ground, even though there's Marauders granting the vision, it's going to be a little bit dangerous. Blink is about to finish right now, and of course a good Blink could allow him to start taking out those Medevacs if he wants to. Alternatively, he needs to be careful not to lose the sentry, but it does go down. That was good for Happy right there. But there goes the Blink, trying to pick off the remaining Marauders, going to try and get a Medevac as well, but they will be able to escape just barely. But another Blink, trying to get 1. Will he get 2? Yes, he does. That was a good little win there for PsiOniC, but the 3rd base up and running now for Happy. So, a quick recap in what we've seen this game so far. PsiOniC, he tried to open up with that proxy robotics bay, going for some kind of warp prism drop, but Happy scouted it. That scout meant that PsiOniC cancelled, took a very greedy, very early 3rd Nexus. That's put him ahead economically, but Happy went for some aggression while taking his own 3rd. Unfortunately, it didn't quite do enough. He lost more than his opponent in the push, and as such, PsiOniC is now comfortably ahead at 70 probes to just the 48 SCVs of Happy. Tech-wise though, both players are fairly even. There's no High Templar out yet. There's no robotics bay or even a robotics facility in order to try and get out Colossi or High Templar, and therefore that just means that as this Marine Marauder force gets larger, it's going to be going up straight against Blink Stalkers. But charge is coming down. That's signaling that PsiOniC might want to go for some kind of charge, not arc on mid-game play. A good Blink forward gets one of those Medevacs, and if you keep the Medevac count low, then the infantry army becomes an awfully lot less effective. So this is good play. Meanwhile though, a triple drop is on its way into the natural base, and this is a big problem for PsiOniC. He pulls all of the probes near instantly, but can he get back in time in order to save this Nexus? It's going to be very close indeed. We've got the Stalkers trying to come in. They do need to Blink forward though, and there's the Blink, but the Nexus is going to fall, and that is fantastic for Happy. He's going to try and get out, but he's going to lose all 3 Medevacs worth of units and one of the Medevacs as well. But getting a natural is a good trade there. It's going to really start hurting PsiOniC's economy, especially when the main base is going to be thinking that actually I'm going to be running out of resources soon. But the disadvantage for Happy is just how many units are on the field. He has a supply disadvantage. Storm is now getting researched. We're going to be seeing the first High Templar hitting the field shortly. And really, the Ghost count isn't up there quite yet. The Blink Stalkers are being used quite effectively, forcing a couple of stims. The medevac count is very low. 2 more medevacs getting sniped off there. And now only 1 medevac trying to heal up this army. But PsiOniC doesn't really want to push into there. And I'm glad he blinked back, because otherwise he would have taken an exceptional amount of damage to his Stalker count. Behind this, of course, we see PsiOniC taking his 4th base. This is a double expansion because he needs to catch up with the fact that he lost that, but he also knows that Happy does have down his 3rd. Upgrade-wise, that's the next thing to look at. What we've got, +2 done, +2 infantry armor is just getting started now, so it's going to be 2-1 for a long period of time against what is 2-1. So that is fairly even upgrades. We've got a single marine chipping away at this 4th base, but a good number of units everywhere. Probes getting transferred up into the main because they may as well. The robotics facility coming down. Storm very near completion, and a couple of good storms is going to be a big problem for Happy when his medevac count is just so low. But the big concern is going to be when that tech switch into Colossi occurs, because that's when Happy is going to have to prioritize either the Viking production or the medevac production. And if PsiOniC keeps denying these medevacs as well as he has been throughout this game, that puts Happy in a very awkward situation, because he may be able to kill the Colossi quickly, but his infantry just won't survive long enough to clean up the gateway forces. So here comes the first Archon. We've got a good number of units for both players now, and are we going to see a big engagement? Well, there's a storm. It leaves a little to be desired, but additional storms are no doubt going to come down shortly. The Zealots are able to close up a lot of the distance, and more nice storms just trying to prevent Happy from being able to engage. And PsiOniC seems to be doing very well here, picking off all of the medevacs, and that is just the story of this game so far. Happy unable to keep his medevac count that high, engaging these forces back a little way. The Zealots unfortunately not going to be able to do too much. Another storm on its way down. A High Templar is going to fall though, which is not something that you really want to happen, but all of those forces for Happy cleaned up, and he is now about 40 supply behind his opponent. And 40 supply at this stage of the game is absolutely huge. Worker count wise, 85 probes to 70 SCVs. These two have got absolutely astronomical incomes, and that just means that it's all up to their production and macro behind the engagements. A double drop is coming round towards this natural again, but with 3 cannons there, PsiOniC is not going to fall for that trick again. Unfortunately, quite a few of the High Templar marching out in front of the Zealots. They will get sniped off, but there's just so many gateway units here that I think PsiOniC is going to be able to do it. Happy is going to have an absolutely incredible hold. A great force hood on the natural ramp. It does stop the Zealots engagement, who are just running to their death, but it will give the opportunity to force a lot of damage at this natural. The SCVs pulled, the orbital command lifted, and now the 3rd base is pretty much free game. Some good snipes, some good EMPs trying to go down on the army, knocking out the shields, but Happy is seriously in a lot of trouble now. The robotics bay and second robotics facility being constructed behind this allows the tech switch into Colossi, should this not go the way PsiOniC wants. But as we can see, a good amount of damage being done. Mining at the natural and the 3rd disrupted. That is precisely what PsiOniC wants to be doing. He wants to be trying to trade cost effectively. A lot of SCVs are getting pulled back, but they're not going to be intercepted quite yet. And the real story so far, though, is that PsiOniC, he's been ahead in bases, or at least equal on bases for a long time. He's now taking his 5th base. Does get scouted by the single marine that was there for Happy in order to find out what was going on and the timing of those bases. But the trouble is, PsiOniC, he's got a larger standing force. He's got extended thermal lance coming down. Upgrade-wise, he's keeping up. He's about to have 3-3 at the same time that Happy only has 3-2, and that just means that actually upgrade-wise, PsiOniC will get ahead. He's got the shield upgrade coming now. Additionally, now we've got some units pulling down, and it looks like Happy's going to try and come in from behind. He does manage to get a couple of those Archons very quickly. Some good EMPs, and that just means that for the moment, PsiOniC forced to pull back. The High Templar, where are they going? The High Templar are all getting sacrificed. That was a bit of miscontrol right there. But I'm very unfortunate. Happy now going for the counter aggression, and this base is going to have to be sacrificed almost certainly. And well, what can PsiOniC do? He's warping in more units, but without any splash damage to deal with this infantry force, he's in a lot of problems. The bottom right base probably going to fall as well now, but the first 2 Colossus are about to pop out. We've got more High Templar getting warped in, but they won't have the energy for the storm for a while. So the best that PsiOniC can hope for is just to buy himself a bit of time. He's taking this base as well, so he will have another 4th established that Happy may not necessarily know about, but more reinforcements are on the way through. The probes unfortunately running to their deaths, and that is precisely what PsiOniC does not want, but he does still have a slight standing army advantage. The Colossi now coming out. They didn't get scanned, so they are revealed. And 2 Colossi are going to be able to do some nice damage, especially when there's no Vikings there. The Zealots are going to tank up a lot of the damage. The upgrades are sitting at 3-2 v 3-2. The +1 shields about to kicking, and well, here we go with the engagement. PsiOniC has got a very good attack arc, and Happy is trying his best to micro back, but the Colossi are able to do so much damage. They are not getting focused down, and Happy now down to just 130 supply. We can see the Colossi trying to get focused, but with so many there, it's not going to be successful. The Stalker's trying to focus down any more medevacs that they can. The Ghost getting taken down, and that was another good trade for PsiOniC, who will be able to warp in a lot more units very quickly. He's got his 3rd and 4th Colossus out on the field, and therefore he is looking to have an awful lot of splash damage, and without any Vikings on the field yet, just 2 popping now, this is going to leave Happy in a big amount of trouble. So in come these units. Could do with waiting for the additional Colossus to come in, but there we go. Now attacking in his high choke, we do see 1 Colossi. The Colossus does fall there, but what are we going to see? PsiOniC, he's going to arch around, he's going to try and loop his way back towards the 3rd base, but he doesn't have quite enough gateway support in my opinion, so wise in just moving back, trying to buy himself some time. A single Marine going to go and check the top corner bases, which is a good move to make, just making sure that actually my opponent isn't expanding anywhere I'm not expecting. A couple of cannons down here wouldn't be a bad move, just to protect it from any small drops or subsequent small attacks, but generally speaking this game is starting to look very close. A scan goes off trying to get a quick read on what the opponent has, but Happy is about to get some Zealots coming from the side, may try and do some economical damage, but most of the army is sitting there for the time being, and that could result in a lot of damage being done, but it looks like PsiOniC is happy to start moving forward. Happy doesn't have enough for the time being to defend this, and he's trying to bring the Vikings in, but with the Archon, with the Storm, just so much damage being done here. PsiOniC now with nearly a 60 supply lead. The Zealots are finally getting cleaned out, but the 3rd base has fallen. PsiOniC with another good Storm. The Colossi happily doing a lot of damage from the back, but for the moment PsiOniC is forced back, but Happy down to just half the supply of his opponent, and GG's out, knowing that without that 3rd base he is going to be unable to come back into this game. So that was game 1 of a best of 3. Like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe, then flick over to my channel, and I will see you at game 2 any second. Bye for now.